All right, welcome back to the deep dive.
It's great to be back.
Tonight's episode we're calling Canada Speaks, directed specifically at Mr. Jagmeet Singh.
Oh, interesting.
This is a deep dive into the source material. The Canadian public's perception of Jagmeet Singh and the NDP and just their overall frustration with the current political climate.
Yeah.
And before we get into it, anyone watching this, please like, comment, subscribe, and share this. We need this to go viral to ensure he sees what Canadians want. If you agree with what we are saying, please help us get the word out there.
Well, it sounds like we're diving into some pretty choppy waters here. Canadian politics, always a lively topic, to say the least.
Right.
Especially these days, it seems like everyone's got an opinion on Jagmeet Singh and the NDP.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that frustration stems from the fact that, like you said, there are a lot of issues facing Canada right now. I mean, cost of living's through the roof, the healthcare system's constantly under strain, and then you've got, Trudeau and the Liberals, and there's a lot of controversy surrounding his leadership.
Right. It's a real mixed bag of challenges and concerns, and I think people are looking for, someone to step up and offer solutions.
And that's where it gets really interesting, right?
Okay.
Because you have the NDP, a party that for so long has championed themselves as the party of the working class.
The voice of the people.
The voice of the people, exactly.
Yeah.
And yet they're propping up the very government that so many Canadians are disillusioned with.
Yeah, it's a tricky situation, isn't it? You've got, on the one hand, Jagmeet Singh saying he's willing to support a no confidence motion against Trudeau, but then on the other hand, you see the NDP, consistently voting with the Liberals, keeping them in power.
Okay, so let's break this down a little bit. What exactly is a no confidence motion? What does that even mean in this context?
Well, in the simplest terms, a no confidence vote is basically the parliament saying, we don't trust the current government.
Oh, okay.
So if enough members of parliament vote against the government, it can actually trigger a whole new election. Think of it kind of like, I don't know, like a referee calling a timeout in a game. Everything stops.
Okay, yeah.
And the players got to figure out what happens next.
Right.
And in this case, the NDP, they hold a lot of power. They're like that tiebreaker in a close game because their votes are absolutely crucial for the Liberals to stay in power.
Okay. So that makes sense. But then what we're seeing in the source material is that a lot of Canadians are just feeling betrayed.
Yeah.
They feel like the NDP is more worried about these political games and maneuvering than actually addressing the needs of the people, the needs of their base.
Yeah. And it's understandable, right? I mean, you have this party that has built its identity on being for the working class, for the everyday person. And then you see them making decisions that, at least on the surface, appear to prioritize, political strategy over the needs of the people they claim to represent.
Yeah.
It's a disconnect. And it breeds that sense of mistrust, It makes people wonder if their voices are really being heard, Are the politicians really looking out for them, or are they just looking out for themselves?
Exactly. It's like, are they actually doing the things that they say they're going to do?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
And that's why I think you see this sellout Singh label, popping up more and more.
Right.
Because, I mean, it's a harsh label, but it reflects this deep sense of frustration and disappointment.
Absolutely. And I think the sellout Singh label, it's interesting because it speaks to a much larger issue that we're seeing, not just in Canada, but in democracies, like all around the world. And it's this decline in trust in political systems. Like when people start to believe that their elected officials are putting their own interests, or the interests of their party ahead of the well-being of the people, the citizens, it really erodes the very foundation of democracy itself.
And one of the things that I found really interesting in the source material that we were looking at was this idea that that the NDP might actually be damaging their own reputation and legacy by continuing to prop up Trudeau. Will their base still be there for them in the long run?
Right. I mean, that's the big question.
Yeah.
Right. Are they essentially sacrificing, long-term trust and credibility for short-term gains? I mean, it's a risky strategy for sure.
And one that I think could really backfire on them. The source material even talked about how Jagmeet's pension is at risk if there's a non-confidence vote, which is just another thing for people to be upset about.
It's true. There's always that risk in politics that you make a decision that you think is in the best interest of, the party or even the country, but it ends up, hurting you in the long run.
Yeah, yeah. So it's a really fascinating and complex situation. I mean, on one hand, you have Canadians who are like deeply frustrated. They
Mm-hmm.
see Trudeau, struggling. They see these issues that aren't being addressed.
Mm-hmm.
And they're looking to the NDP, the party that's supposed to be, fighting for them. And they're just not seeing it. And then you have this sellout Singh label, which, really drives home that feeling of betrayal and distrust.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's hard to know what the right answer is here. Is the NDP making the right call by continuing to support the Liberals? Are they playing this long game that could eventually lead to some positive change, or, are they making a mistake that they'll regret down the road? I mean, only time will tell, but it's definitely a crucial moment for the NDP. And I think the decisions that they make in the coming weeks and months are going to have, a big impact, not just on their own future, but on the future of Canadian politics as a whole.
Well, and that's why it's so important for Canadians to be engaged and to make their voices heard. We
Absolutely.
need to be paying attention to what's happening. We need to be talking about it. We need to be letting our elected officials know how we feel and what we expect from them.
Right.
So, to wrap things up here, I just want to leave our listeners with this one question.
Okay.
Do you think Jagmeet Singh has the courage to make a bold decision
Hmm.
that could potentially reshape Canadian politics?
Ooh.
Or will he choose the path of political expediency, risking long-term damage to the NDP's image and legacy? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Let's keep this conversation going.
Yeah, this is a conversation that needs to be had, and we need to keep the pressure on, all of our elected officials,
Yeah.
to really make sure that they're serving the people.
That they are doing what they're supposed to be doing. All right. Well, that's all the time we have for this deep dive. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
See you then.